Thank you once again for joining me to talk all things vertical drama. I found another I promise willing participant to talk to me, which is the actor Jack Byram. Let's get Jack to introduce himself to you, and then we'll go from there.
Hi, my name is Jack Byram. I am an actor, a former comedian, and I've been doing verticals I guess we're coming up on a year now, which is crazy to say.
Okay, first question. Where did you grow up? Are you a city boy?
I
Are you a country boy? Tell me about your
I
childhood.
am I'm a suburb boy. I grew up in Maplewood, New Jersey, and it's like, I don't know, 30 minutes west of the city. So I had access to Manhattan as a kid, but I didn't really use it much. And yeah, pretty normal. Two brothers, two loving parents. It's not really like the traumatic story you would expect for someone who could be like, I want to be an actor and I want attention on me all the time, you know?
Okay, so really well adjusted. Okay, so when you were a kid, are you sporty? Were you performing then? Were you writing? Kind of, how did you spend your spare time?
I would not say well adjusted, by the way. I definitely got my own sets of issues. But yeah, I was into sports. I remember they used to like make us do because they couldn't get enough people to be in like the school play, so they'd force every kid to do it, and I hated it. I had no interest. I did not want to perform. I was such a shy kid. I didn't want to perform in front of everyone. It felt like a grave injustice that they were making me do that and taking away basketball time, but I had to do it. Yeah. And then it's funny because I think I kind of have like the opposite of most kids. I think most kids are like, when they're a kid, they're like, I want to be an actor or I want to be an astronaut. And then they like settle into like, I guess I'll get a job in business or something. I was the opposite. When I was a kid, I was like, it'll be great. I could be a lawyer. I could be a businessman. And then I got to college and I was like, I should really do something more realistic, like being a stand-up comedian.
So yeah, so you had no epiphany at school. You didn't have the moment on stage where you were like, I love this. This is what I want to do. That didn't happen at all.
No, actually really funny. The way I got into all this was I always had an interest in doing stand-up comedy, and I finished my sophomore year of college and I didn't know what I wanted to do, and you have to declare a major your junior year. And so my mother, I was talking to her, I was like, I don't know what I want to do, I don't know what I want to major in, this and that. And she was like, I heard about this aptitude testing center in Manhattan where you go for 2 full days of testing and then they tell you what your strengths are and what you would be good at. And I was like, oh, sure, I'll do it. It was very kind. My mother paid for it. And I went and I did the 2 full days of testing. And then at the end, the guy who gave me like all the questions was reading through my results to tell me what would be a good idea. And so he's like, with your English skills, you might be interested in law, you might do this, you might do that. And then he like kind of looks at me and he goes, but what are you interested in? He's like, if you could do anything. And I was like, I've always been interested in trying stand-up comedy. And he just like closed the book and he was like, you should do that. That sounds really fun. And I'm sure my mom was just sitting there like, what did we pay you for? Are you kidding me? You just told him to do the only thing that doesn't pay money.
So just to explain to people, like, what is the step from going, I want to do stand-up comedy? What do you do next? How do you start?
You go do an open mic. Well, what you really do is the best thing to do is sign up with a friend or tell a friend so you have no choice but to do it. And I was fortunate. I reached out to someone who ran a show. My friend put me in contact with this producer, and he on the phone made me pick a day. He was like, just pick any day, but you have to pick one because if you don't, you'll never do it. And so I picked a day like a month in advance, and then I was like, now I have no choice but to do it. Yeah, anything that can just force you to do it and just do
Mm.
it once and get it. Because once you do the first one, it's like all of the fear goes away because it either goes well or it goes horribly, but it's never as bad as you imagined, you know?
But that, for a lot of people, would be one of the most terrifying things in the world to do.
Yeah, it's like the Jerry Seinfeld joke where he says public speaking ranks higher than death for people's fears, like their greatest fears. He said,
Mm.
so that means that most people would rather be in the casket than giving the eulogy at a funeral.
That's
It's
probably
pretty
fair
true.
enough. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it is. Um, okay, total side quest, but I remember a first aid course I went to years and years ago that everyone had to do one of these trainings, and 3 people didn't turn up on the second day because they knew they'd have to do some sort of public talk thing. And they were
Yeah,
just like, I'm not doing that. I'm not coming back.
it is really like, well, it's just like the most vulnerable thing. Like all of the attention is on you. But I always found that people every time I would say to someone that I do stand up and they'd say that's like the most scary thing. I'm like, it's actually kind of the only art form where you can like tell the audience to shut up and fight back with them. You know, if you're in a play and it's not going well, you have to keep doing the play. But like you can stand up there and it might not go well, but you can curse at the audience if you're not having a good time. Like I don't know any other art form where you get to do that, you know?
That's a really good point. Have you dealt with
Yeah.
hecklers in your time, presumably?
Yeah. Yeah, I've had I think everyone gets their chance to experience like every version of it. And I think comedy is like just a if you believe in like the universe, like it comes through in stand up because as soon as you have like a few shows that go really well, you're like, all right, I'm due for a bad one. And you tell
Mm.
the same jokes that have gone well at all these other shows, and then just like for some reason it doesn't work in this one audience. I've had a guy walk across the stage to get to the bathroom. I had to deal with that. I've had people talk. I've had a table get flipped over and glasses smash. It's really anything you can imagine going wrong will go wrong if you do it long enough.
But what's the rush then? What's the best bit?
I mean, it's just if it's going well and like and you kind of are in a freedom, like you have like a free state of mind to kind of riff and add to your own jokes, that's like the most fun thing in the world. Because writing is so difficult, but when you're kind of on and the crowd is on your side and you're having fun and like things are just popping into your mind and you're adding them so effortlessly to the jokes and it's working, you're like, oh yeah, this makes all of the times that people walked across the stage worth it, you know?
So, I want to ask as well. Were you one of those comedians who would go through the front row and pick on them?
Yeah, it's a really horrible thing because the worst part about it is like when you're new to comedy, you're also selling the tickets and you're also seating the people.
Mm.
And so you have to like look at these people and be like, don't worry, they're not going to hurt you in the front row. And it's a lie. Of course they're going to talk to you, you
Yeah.
know? And then by the time you get on stage, you're like, yeah, I was deceitful. I told you we weren't going to talk to you. And now like,
Mm.
I remember a comedian said this. He was like, stand up is also the only art form where you want to go and when they ask you where you want to sit, you're like, is there like a pillar I can be sat behind?
Yeah, that's true.
You
Whereas in
know?
theatre, you're like, "Where's my view of the stage?" Yeah.
Yeah, I want to be front and center. You're like, yeah, you could just like put me in the bathroom if you want. Like I'll watch from there.
So, how long did you do stand up, and did you stay in New York, or did you sort of go on the road with it, travel?
I did, yeah, I started I think in 20, my first time I ever did it was like 2015 and then I did it pretty consistently like 4 or 5 times a week for through like 2019. And then COVID hit and it just kind of slowed things down and I was able to examine and reprioritize and it wasn't I didn't love it in the way I needed to anymore. And I just kind of thought it's so hard to get stage time. Like someone who wants to be up there more should be getting the stage time instead of me. And I'd rather put my energy into acting. So I kind of slowed down then, but I never really got to travel because New York is just kind of the place to do it. I mean, there's like just the sheer volume. You could do 3 open mics in an hour if you're smart about like mapping it out, you know, and then you
Mm.
could do an additional four throughout the rest of the night. So it to just get experience, like I don't know that any city compares to New York.
I will
But it's
argue.
also not it's
Can I
also not
argue
the
London?
necessarily the
Can I just argue
I
London?
yeah, how is the scene in London? Is it good?
I have no idea. But let's say yes, I'm sure London's thriving.
Well, it's interesting because it's like just because they're getting up 7 times in a night isn't necessarily the best thing if the crowd isn't paying attention to you. So sometimes a city where you can only get on stage once, but you have like a really active audience, that might be better. I think
Mm.
London does have a really good scene. I mean, it seems to create a lot of great comedians.
So, yeah. Yeah, I had to just put that in there,
Yeah,
slide it in.
I
You're
understand.
expecting that.
Your
Okay.
hometown pride.
So you mentioned that obviously the stand up had slightly lessened for you as interest, and you put the word acting in. So when did you start thinking acting? That might interest me.
I a friend of mine, like a family friend, was a casting director, and she said to me, um, you should take some acting classes because, if someone sees you at a show and says you're great and asks you out to audition for something, you want to know what you're doing. So I said, that's actually a really good idea. And so I signed up for an acting class and I just really liked it. And then a friend of mine, like another family friend, his mother was a famous actress. Maybe I told you about this when we met in person, but her name was Olympia Dukakis. She played,
You
yeah.
did not tell me. I would
Oh,
remember
I
that.
never told you. So so her son is like a friend of my dad's and a friend of mine.
Mm.
And she, for anyone who doesn't know, she won an Oscar for playing Cher's mother in Moonstruck. She was great in it. And so he said to me, her son said to me, my mom still teaches kind of for fun out of her loft in Soho. Would you like to meet her? I was like, are you kidding me? Of course I would. So I think it was 2018 or 2019. I started going to these small sessions at Olympia's apartment, and like through her, I fell in love with acting more than I ever could have imagined. Just to like hear her talk, the way she spoke about it, I was like, I like, yeah, that's everything I want to have in a career. The amount of plays she had done was just like the sheer amount of work. So I got to, it's kind of surreal looking back on it. For about a year and a half, 2 years of my life before she passed away, I'd go over once a week, and she'd either teach me acting, or at a certain point we started just playing cards together and talking, and a really unbelievable experience. But yeah, like through her, I was like, that's all I want, you know.
And what was it about the acting? Sorry, I'm gonna try and.
I think it's just I don't know. It's just I I felt people think like people always say stand-up's vulnerable, and I think it can be. But like I said, you can also go up with a shield. Like you can cross your arms, you can tell the audience to shut up, you can do all these things, and I kind of liked that with acting. Like you can't run from it if you want it to be good. You have to really feel these things or get yourself as close to feeling them as possible. And I thought I loved like the limitless I felt kind of constrained to
Mm.
just my own brain when I'm doing stand up, but when I'm acting, it's like I could be whoever, you know?
Oh, that was awesome. Okay, so once you're doing the acting, what was the scene like in New York? Kind of what jobs are available?
I was auditioning for a bunch of commercials. I remember I went in for a commercial one time, and I was doing a lot of stand up, and they wanted you to improv. And so I was with these two guys who were really good at improving, and I was just in stand up comedy mode. So I kept saying like the darkest thing that could come to mind. And as soon as it ended, I was like, there's just no way they're hiring me for this. But it was a lot of commercials. And then I decided to go to this 2 year acting program at the William Esper studio. And
Mm.
then because of COVID, the 2 years, it was like I joked, it's like taking me 7 years to get my 2 year program done. Um, but I got to make a lot of friends there and got to do a whole lot of scenes in that class and really kind of develop a technique.
So obviously the question I need to ask you is when did verticals come into your life, and what was the kind of the first you heard of them?
I had I probably saw him on Actors Access and just had no idea. Honestly, if I can think back to if I even saw, because they're listed under vertical, and if with
Mm.
no context, I probably thought it was just going to be like come do a TikTok dance. That's my guess if I saw vertical.
Yeah.
But I was in Los Angeles visiting a friend and visiting my brother last year, and Sarah Grace Donnelly, who's an actress in Verticals, is she went to we went to acting school at the same time. We took a class together, and I just had saw on Instagram like she was working all the time, and so I was like, "Hey, can we get lunch?" And we got lunch, and I asked her like, "What are you doing? Like, how are you? You're working more than anyone I've ever seen." And she was like, "Oh, I'm doing vertical movies," and I was like, "What is that?" And then she explained it, and I was like, "Oh, I want to do that. That sounds like a lot of fun." And so that was like November of last year, and I think I booked my first one early January of the following year.
Cool. So your
Yeah.
first one's Unbreakable Guard, which is people will know I love, and is awesome because you get to go run around and be a bodyguard and do cool action things.
Yeah, very different than being a stand-up comedian, right? Like it's that's kind of like your dream first role if you're a young guy and you're an actor, you're like, I get to play the badass bodyguard. The furthest thing from who I am in real life. Yeah, sign me up. You
So
know?
then that when that came out, and then other ones that you've done, because I know you've done a range of roles. Obviously, you've done leads, but you've also done well, not kind of supporting, but you know what I mean, kind of antagonist.
hmm
What do you enjoy doing? Because I imagine you probably quite enjoy doing the antagonist as well.
Yeah, I mean the antagonist sort a lot of the time is like you get to do a little bit more with it. And they can be so funny. I mean, there's like such a cruelty to them, but like the inhumanity of how over the top their inhumanity is.
Mm.
Like I sometimes read it and then and I'll do it a certain way, and a director will be like, "No, you need to do it like meaner," and I'm like, th "There's no way to say this line without it being kind of funny because who is this mean in the real world?" And so I kind of like the antagonist because you get to you get to inject some humor and kind of be a little more over the top, whereas with the lead protagonist, that kind of want you to be more stoic and heroic and not as goofy. And I kind of tend to have a tendency to go towards goofy.
Yeah. Well, the nice thing is actually just saying, I'm just watching, there seem to be some comedies coming out at the moment because I
There
think
seems to be like a lot of everything coming out, which is super exciting.
it's
Yeah,
cool.
how many, like, what have you seen in terms of comedy? What do
Well,
you
there's another
like?
one at the moment. It's a nice, I'm going to do a little shout out for Good Short here. It's something about a mafia thing, but basically the female lead is the mafia boss.
Oh,
And
I
the
saw that.
and then the hapless Armand Procaccio is like the hapless delivery guy who ends up accidentally saving her life. And she's
I
like, I'm
saw,
going to
yeah,
marry you. And she's shooting
I,
everyone. He's like, oh, he's just delivering pizza. And it's like,
I
yes,
saw that.
that's what we want. And it's just so much funnier flipping a lot of the vertical tropes. It's very, very amusing. So,
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I was on Instagram right before we got on this call and I saw that. Armin's also just hilarious. Like he's got an ability to make anything funny, and so just seeing him in like a pizza delivery boy outfit inherently, I laughed before he said anything, you know?
yeah, it's just, I think that's the thing as well. It's this realization that I guess all of you, when you're playing these typical vertical male lead, it's great, but it is a bit restrictive. It's kind of, it can be a bit one note.
I had when I was in Los Angeles last month, I went out with a friend Zane. Do you know Zane Haney?
Hmm.
So he was in my acting program, but he never came back after the COVID break. But
Mm.
we stayed in touch, and he told me he was on set for one. You know, he gets cast as the protagonist and the antagonist a lot. And he said he was on set for one, I think in China, and the director was saying to him, like, you need to have this moment, you need to go to here, you need to have this arc where your character does this, this, and this, but you need to come back up and come back down. And then she looks over at the protagonist and goes, and you just look pretty. So that's kind of the expectation between the two.
Yeah. Yeah. Which you do, but you get more to do. So I want to talk mainly about Ruthless Mafia Daddy because I know a lot of people really liked that one because I would say it's a mafia one with a little bit more soul. And also you actually have henchmen. Because this is the
I know.
exciting thing. Because sometimes, particularly some of the earlier mafia ones, it's like the mafia and they have like one. I mean, when you turn up, you have a posse behind you, which I'm quite impressed with.
Yeah. That was a lot of fun. That was shot in Texas, like right on the
Yeah.
Mexico border. So it was like a million degrees, but and I had to wear a three-piece suit every
Uh,
single day. But yeah, that was like it is interesting in hindsight, knowing, and at the time I guess I could tell like, you know, it's a mafia character who is in the title is ruthless,
uh,
but definitely has layers and a lot underneath. Um, and so that was fun because you get to have the cool moments of standing there smoking a cigar, but you also get to have some emotional depth with the love story, you know?
yeah.
Like it was fun because it was a character that you're like, yeah, this is someone you could love. Sometimes you watch something and you're like, why would she end up with that guy? There's nothing to him. But,
Mm,
with the character I got to play, at least you're like, there's some humanity underneath.
mm. Just practically, because just so people know, are you still based in New York?
I go back and forth though. I have a place to stay in Los Angeles, so that way I
Um,
can be local for anything.
yeah. But just to explain to people, so when you book a role when you're somewhere like that in Texas, just practically, how does it work? And what are the key, I guess, essentials from home that you take with you so that wherever you're set up, you're fine for the week or so?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends because um a lot of for something like that where they don't really have, I mean, there are local people, but if they want someone from New York, they'll fly you out and put you in a hotel. Um and but I've also done ones where, early on where I just needed the job and I was like, I'll fly myself out. I just want to do the job. So basically you book a role and then they ask you like, do you have any suits you can bring? Because, all of these are supposed to have a suit. So there is a suit I own that has been in most of the verticals I've been in, but I hate checking a bag, so I just try to stuff everything I can in a carry-on and,
Mm,
bring my laptop, bring the good news is you can shoot auditions on your phone, but that is the funny part about these verticals is like you'll be on set for one, getting an email about another one. And so you
mm.
finish a 12-hour day and then go back to your hotel room and have to shoot another audition, you know?
Oh, that's what's the vertical suit? How did you decide this is my billionaire slash mafia slash CEO suit?
Because it was the only one I had that fit me. It
Okay.
was a suit. It was a suit from uh, my brother's wedding. I wore when I was his best man, and so actually there's like replicas of that suit. My all the other groomsmen have it, um, and now it's a piece of vertical history.
Well, that's really good because otherwise that's the sort of stuff that just sits in the wardrobe otherwise, isn't it?
Yeah, I would say I wore it for like the first 4 years I had it, maybe once a year, and
Oh.
now I finally get to use it for stuff.
So going back, sorry, to Ruthless Mafia Daddy, the mansion looked amazing. It looked like a really awesome location for that. What was that sort of space like?
Yeah, it was in this neighborhood of like just I mean, usually they are, right? Mansions surrounded by other
Mm.
mansions. Um, but it was so interesting because the whole area, it was just, you know, there wasn't a whole lot in some areas, and then you just enter this development with gigantic mansions.
Mm.
Um, and it was like I said, 100 degrees, wearing a three-piece suit, and all you could see was just the pool that we weren't allowed to go in. And I was
Mm.
like, I would give anything to be able to jump into that right now.
And then I really want to talk to you about your relationship with Harry, actually, because you've got Ace and Harry. I mean, it's another vertical. Verticals really helped out by dads not bringing up sons that well. There's a lot
Yeah,
of
that was well, first of all, he was awesome. He's such a great actor and gave me so much to work with. And you know, it's funny because we didn't really look anything alike. So the joke I said on set was like, "Well, we have a different dad and a different mom." Um, so, but yeah, he was like just crushed it, you know. And when someone is like that evil and that good at playing a character, it kind of makes your job easier to hate them, you know.
I feel we do need to solve these daddy issues though. But I think, and again, another thing I liked about it is that he wasn't messing around. So he is ruthless. So there's the thing where the kind of everyone in a room knows a secret he doesn't want told.
Hmm.
No one else comes out of that room apart from him, which is what
Yeah.
in that situation would do. So it just makes it a bit more. Um, and then the nice thing about your character is the fact that you kind of try and find a way out.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think it's a tricky thing because it's like, you know, with these mafia stories, you obviously there's like an appeal and we're kind of glamorizing the lifestyle, but
Mm.
like, you know, would you really want to be with someone who was in a situation where guns were always being used? So I think it's kind of like you know, a logical, smart ending to have it be like, you know, you have all the fun and all the dramatic scenes of the mafia and all the tension in
Mm.
that, but it's like in the end, don't wouldn't you want the father of your child to say, "Hey, I'm not going to kill people anymore"? So it's kind of like a really nice logical ending.
Mm. And when do you think Ace falls in love with Ellie?
Um, I think I think pretty early on. I think their first interaction, he's definitely interested, you know, when she kind of calls him out for smoking the cigar in front of the
Mm.
hotel, and you could see it, you know, in his eyes. He's like, who is this talking to me? How does she not know who I am?" But I think he's interested. Um, and so I think he likes her a lot earlier than he lets on.
And then obviously we have two proposals as such.
Hmm.
I love that the first proposal. We have a lot of those. I just did an interview with someone else we put up with like the madness of vertical gifts.
Hmm.
Of like, here's a mansion, here's all the gold, here's this
Yeah,
and that and the other. And obviously that's his natural. Have all the clothes, have all the handbags.
yeah, yeah. I think it's true. You should give out an award. You should see next year, like give out an award for most proposals in one. See if anyone can rack up more than two or three. I know it is like a cliche at this point. It's like it's never enough to be like the mansion never just speaks for itself because it's always like welcome to your mansion, your new home, and also how about all these gifts, you know. It is kind of a great it's one of my favorite tropes because I do love seeing like just what the props department is able to conjure up. It always looks like Christmas morning, you know.
And then obviously the lovely thing is then he realizes, I think, isn't it the housekeeper or someone points out that maybe this is not the way to win her heart. And then you do have a better proposal, which crucially
Yeah,
has a giant teddy bear in. Can we talk about the giant teddy bear, please?
I know it is funny it's always like the man is like, I just why is she not in love with me after I showed her I have millions of dollars? That should be enough. Um, yeah, the gigantic teddy bear was like I kind of wish we could have kept it in more scenes. I felt like it was like another character, just comically oversized. I mean, I think it was bigger than Maria, like I think it was like sitting next to her, she wasn't as large as it. So yeah, that was the first time I'd seen them do that in the one of the gift displays. I hope that's here to stay though.
Yeah, we need more. We need more plush toys. Although we then went down the Labubu route over the last month, which is a
I
bit
know,
sad.
I heard about that.
So we don't need to go down there. We need to come out of that. I also want to ask you, working about Maria, because Maria's been doing verticals sort of for a long time, and obviously she's seen the sort of the format change and the genre grow. Kind of, did you get any sort of thoughts from her, sort of while you're on set, of just sort of where she thinks verticals are going?
I think I can't remember exactly what we talked about. I will say just getting to work with her, she was super talented and lovely to work with and very
Yeah.
kind. Um, and, I had obviously done a bunch of verticals at that point, but still she had dwarfed how many I had done. And she's just kind of good at helping me ease into it. And, if I had some self-doubts or whatever the first couple days, she was like, no, this is going fine. Um, but yeah, it is interesting to talk to her because she, I kind of bring up to everyone. I have this really strong feeling. I know they've tried it. I just have this really strong feeling that horror movies are going to play very well on vertical,
Mm.
and I think just because of the shorter episodes and how everything ends on a cliffhanger, you can really lean into like you could do a jump scare to end an episode, and it's kind of a perfect thing. So I'm sure we talked about that a little bit, and I'm trying to remember exactly what she said, but yeah, all in all, just super cool
She's
person to
just
get to
had
spend a
one
week
come
with.
out actually, which I think's quite
It
good.
is true. I saw
Yeah.
that. Yeah. So there we go. Um, and I heard it was really well received, right?
Yeah, I had a really clever concept as well because it was she's come back from break to college, some from
Hmm.
college to home, and the parents are not as she left them. And
Yeah.
I thought that's such a clever just starting hook
Yeah. Yeah.
because you already
Absolutely.
feel displaced, don't you, when you've gone to college and you don't quite fit in at home anymore, and then it's literally you don't fit in because your parents are not who you, they used to be. So yeah,
I saw the trailer for it and I was like, this looks awesome. Just kind of exactly what I thought. Like, it's like the perfect storyline is a horror. Like quick, scary episodes, keep people on the edge of their seat. I think it's hopefully we see more of because acting in horror is a lot of fun too.
you've done horror before.
I did a short film and it's always really funny because uh it was like a student film I did years ago, but you have like the guy who was the killer. He was like 9 feet tall. He was absolutely gigantic. And so he's like violently slicing me up with a machete, and then they yell cut, and he's like, "Hey, are you okay?" It's like a really funny thing in the moment. Um, but yeah, there's so much fun because you get to see what the makeup department can do, and it's always kind of fun, I think, for them to be on a set where it's not just putting powder on your face, they can really show you what they're capable of. And that to me is like, I just bother the makeup person the whole time, asking them questions and like pulling on their sleeve and being like, "Can you explain how this works? How do they do this in this movie?"
Awesome. So, are you tempted to write then? Because presumably, as a stand-up comedian, that's all your own material. Is that something that you're writing as well?
Yeah, I have something I've been working on for a while, on and off. I really it sounds pretentious, but I really want to write a book. Um, I just remember being a kid, always thinking like that would be such a cool thing to have your name on a book, and I always just kind of envisioned doing it. So I have an idea for something, and I also like the idea of turning it into a script. But um, I've tried writing verticals before. I never finished one. Um, but it feels, it kind of felt like there's so much competition and there's so many scripts available that I was like, do I want to put my energy into this or do I want to put my energy into all in on acting? So I'm not opposed to the idea of writing something if an opportunity presented itself, but it's not at the top of my list like it was at one time.
Just talking about format, obviously, you've explained that you can see that horror works well. Is there a way that comedy could work well?
I think very similarly. I think a lot of like horror movies are also really funny too. So I think a lot of the thing, not when someone's getting slashed to bits, but like there's a lot of they inject a lot of humor into them. Um, I think that the nice thing when I was trying to write it, the nice thing about verticals is it's like there's a there's freedom, but it's a pretty strict structure of what it should look like. Like the episodes have to be this length, and by episode 10 you have to have done X, Y, and Z. So in a way, it kind of liberates you because you have like freedom within these rules, but you have to stick to these rules. So it's kind of a guide like the whole way. Um, but I think comedy is, yeah, I think with like the really quick episodes, and I think if you watch some of the stuff that Armin's done, like he can make moments that aren't written as funny into really funny moments. So I think, you know, I think a fun thing to do would be to make a vertical that's very like self-aware, tongue-in-cheek, covers all the tropes, but it's also like laughing at itself.
Yeah, I think we need more of that kind of yeah, self-depreciation.
Yeah.
So, I just want to ask you a little bit more about just because I never really asked anyone about just day to day on set. So, what sort of time generally, as a leading person, do you have to turn up on set, and what does your day look like, basically?
Yeah, it's
Talk
like
me through a day.
yeah, well, it varies, but most of them it's kind of like you're going to be on set usually by like 8 or 9, on set at 8 in makeup, in hair and makeup, in wardrobe, and then I mean these things just move so quickly, verticals. I'm sure that's kind of I'm sure what everyone has told you, and for you've seen it I'm sure too. But yeah, it's like it's maybe one rehearsal and then shoot it and then tweak it and shoot it again and then move on. Um, so it's just kind of go, 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 and it's the whole day is really minimal breaks. But the cool thing about it, and this is kind of how all sets are, but I do find it to be particularly true with verticals, is like just shooting 12 to 20 pages in a day. You're getting so much done with this group of people and spending 12 hours in a day with all these people that you really get close to the crew very quickly. And so I've never had a bad experience. I've always been very fortunate and gotten a chance to just have people on the crew that are fun that I can kind of joke around with at lunch or between takes or any of that. Um, and everyone's super talented too, because these are people who are they've been doing this for a long time, and verticals are just a new thing for them to do their craft. So I am always just kind of blown away by the people I get to be around. Um, but yeah, the bulk of my day is, you know, drink my coffee, go over my lines between scenes, go to Crafty and eat as many of the clementines as I can, and try and find someone I can talk to when I'm not on set that, I won't be distracting them. Maybe
Mm,
get to talk to the producer. Um, and I'm trying to do a better job of just taking it all in and enjoying it because it's so easy to be like only focused on the work side of things and making sure, which is good. You want to do a good job, but it's also just like if I can zoom out for a moment and be like, this is a pretty fun and silly thing that's going on right now. Like, what a cool time to be doing this?
mm. Yeah, I guess just being present.
Yeah, it's
Sort
kind of a good rule for
of,
everything, isn't it?
yeah, it's a good rule. Oh God, what was my question? It's a really good question as well. Ah, yes. Okay. Something I often ask people on the Meet Creatives, but I wanted to ask you as well, is obviously naturally as a fan watching it, the people you see are actors and actresses. But obviously we know that you've mentioned the crew, a lot of people behind the scenes. Who would you say is an unsung hero, kind of a role in the crew that actually needs more
Uh,
thinking about?
oh, it's so tough. There's so many people on set that I'm like, I'm so glad you do this because I could never do it kind of thing. Like,
Mm,
I think the most thankless job is the AD, but like kind of the most crucial
mm,
because everyone can just start talking between takes and before you know it, it's really loud and rowdy or and then the AD's job is basically to say like, hey, shut up to everyone. We got to get another take. So it's like kind of the mom of the set, not necessarily the most glamorous position, but if you didn't have one, the whole thing would just fall apart.
mm,
Um, I always get along really. I've been very fortunate. Every sound person has always been really cool. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just a certain type of person's drawn to that work, but every sound person on set, I'm like, I always find that they're like very calm. They're like a calming presence. and they just
Mm.
have cool insights, you know? I guess they just get really good at listening. That's kind of what it is. So then when you talk to them one on one, they're just like you feel like this person's actually listening to me.
Oh, that's a really good answer. So, with the sound, just to explain to people, how does that normally work? Are you working? I mean, I've only just learned this year. Working with a boom, do you have mics on you? Because obviously, part of the issue with verticals is you will have had, I'm sure, take your shirt off, so it's nowhere to hide a mic. Kind of just
Yeah, take your shirt off,
practically,
or
how does
you're
it
in the
work?
pool. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're in the pool, you're in the shower, like all of there's so many different places you can go. But most of the time they try to have a mic on you.
Mm.
And then there's yeah, the boom for most shots, especially when it's in a pool, you need a boom above it. Um, which always freaks me out. Anytime I see like the boom like just above the water and the guy's got the boom like pole is stretched out to 40 feet, you're like this I can't understand how we're doing this right now.
Well, they're very strong. I think this is something that needs saying, isn't it? There's a physicality of just hoiking around a lot of stuff on film sets.
Yeah, like I don't know if you've like the last time you've like painted a room, but if I have to like do anything above my head for more than like a minute at a time, I'm like this is exhausting. So the idea that you're like holding a boom at full length for the entire day, and they don't complain.
Yeah.
You know, that's the most incredible thing about it to me. I would, because if that was my job, I would let everyone know how difficult it was every minute of every day.
Fair enough.
You know?
Yeah. Okay, so someone who loves acting and also said wants to write a book. What do you who do you rate as actors? Are there kind of people, and actresses as well? Who are the ones that for you are? I really love their work. I want to see different things they do.
Um, there's so many people. You know, he's a little bit older, but every time I watch Ed Harris, do you know Ed Harris? Yeah, for some reason he's just like the most compelling on-screen presence to me. He's just got this like everything he's been in that I've seen, I've loved him in. I've loved every choice he's made. I watch him and I'm like, I don't even know how you came up with that. That's not what I would have done with the script. And that to me is the most fun thing about watching an actor is like Al Pacino's kind of the same where I've seen him in roles where I'm like, how is that possibly what you did with the script? Like it's amazing, but it's ne I never would have considered doing that. Um, but outside of them, I'm trying to think who I really like. I mean, I like Jessica Chastain a lot. Anything I've seen her in, I really enjoy. Um, but I also I like, you know, like I love Jim Carrey. You know, it's just like you could look at him and be like, oh, he's so over the top, and it's like, yeah, but it's impressive what he's able to do. You know, like his physical comedy. Let me think who else. I've been watching. What have I been watching? I'm watching Beau is Afraid, but I'm watching it in small parts. And Joaquin Phoenix is pretty incredible, you know, like what he's able to do. He kind of terrifies me to watch him. I'm like, is someone checking on this guy during set, making sure he's okay, you know?
Yeah, there's a name that comes up a lot actually when I ask people this
Yeah.
question, like Joaquin Phoenix. Okay, so I need to ask about music because I think we need to put this out in the world.
Yeah.
Who are you a massive fan of?
My two probably favorites right now are both English bands. I love The Cure and I love Oasis. And you know, I saw Oasis in London, one of their like whatever they did 10 or 12 shows there.
Mm.
And it was one of the greatest things I've ever seen in my life. I was so far away, but there was such an energy. All these people were so excited to be there and were such massive fans that like being in the back of the stadium felt like you were still in the front row. It was unbelievable.
Favorite Oasis songs? Can you narrow it
Mm.
down?
Yeah, I would say my favorite. It's so tough. I love them so much, but so much of their music is kind of sounds like their other music. You know what
Mm.
I mean? But I think "Don't Look Back in Anger" is a really good one. I was at a wedding over the summer, and the daddy daughter dance was to Champagne Supernova, and I started crying. I just had never seen someone do that, so I was like, "That's a great song." Um, what else is there? I mean, "She's Electric" is a good one. Uh, Wonderwall, even though it's become like a meme. You know, when you hear something so many times that it loses meaning, but then you see it live, it kind of reinvigorated a lot of their songs for me.
I think that's what happened with Wonderwall because I was the right age. I was a teenager. because that's how old
Yeah.
I am when it was all out. And it was so overplayed. And you kind of go, oh, but then when you actually sit and listen to the whole thing, I mean, I've not even seen them live. You're like, no, there's a reason it was overplayed because
Yeah,
it
it
is
was a
that
hit for
good.
a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, it definitely is hard to roll your eyes at the song when like they're singing it live and there's fireworks going off. I was like, all right, you found a way to make this exciting again.
Fireworks are good.
Yeah.
Fireworks at
Yeah.
the end of the concert. Yeah.
But I'm a big, I don't, I would never call myself like an Anglophile or something, but if I examine the things I'm interested in, I just love British stuff. I love English music. Um, I love English movies. Like just I just find that the way that any and this not just people from all around England always interest me, like different accents, different ways of talking, different ways of saying things, and I just think they make really good art too. Something about
I will
the
not tolerate.
dreary
Yes, of course. Yes. Yes.
the dreary weather makes people have to make like really kind of depressing but good music.
Yes. I think The Cure wouldn't work in Florida, for instance. They needed to be in
No, it
England.
wouldn't make much sense, right?
And then just going forward, what projects have you got lined up, basically?
I just found out I'm still securing all the details. Um I have something I'm supposed to be shooting in Toronto. I don't know all the details yet, but I found out before we got on a call, so I'm excited about that. And I've just been auditioning so much. That's the crazy thing about verticals is, every part of it is quick. So like the shooting is quick, but also finding out you're in one is like, hey, can you fly out tomorrow?
Yeah, it's the madness. You're right. It does go across every part of it. And then also the speed with which they can come out sometimes as well.
Yeah, these things are such a well-run machine at this point. Like, the craziest thing to me is you'll be on set, you'll shoot, and then as soon as you're done shooting the scene, like they'll go dump the footage and someone is editing it right after you've shot it. Like
Mm.
they can have a first cut done within like, I don't know, 4 or 5 days sometimes. It's the most efficient thing I've ever seen.
Okay, and then final, this is your chance to pitch to the internet. What's the dream role in verticals? What would you like to do?
Okay. I want to do started writing this a little while ago, but we never finished it. But I want to do like a noir kind of. I don't think you'd shoot it in black and white because I think it might, I think verticals are very data based and based on what works, and I don't necessarily think a black and white one would work. But if we're throwing that out and I can do whatever I want, it would be like Casablanca, but like a vertical, and it would be like a noir, 50s kind of like a detective trying to chase down a jewel thief, and she's like just a total pro, and she's kind of toying with him and leaving hints all along the way. And it's just like total, total perfect for vertical. Like every episode ends with like he almost catches her and she gets away, or they come face to face, but he can't pin it yet, and there's like a lot of flirting in their interactions. I think that would be a lot of fun.
That sounds really good, and I can see a female lead loving that as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think that
you could have
there's
two
no
people
reason.
playing off each other a lot there. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's no reason it can't be like, it doesn't have to be like one of them smart and one of them stupid. It's like they're both really good at their job. She's just a little bit better at it because she's a great escape artist.
Oh, I love it. Right, internet,
Yeah.
we need to make that happen. I want to say thank you so much for talking to me for so long. You're an absolute superstar.
Hmm.
I adore you. And yeah, here's to lots more awesome vertical roles.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me, Jen.